Hello, is everybody there?
Hey, Dr. Joe, that was awesome.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you so much, everyone. Those kids, I mean, I tell you, the courage that it takes to get up on that stage is really quite remarkable. And I just want to continue to acknowledge what they have been doing. Folks, in the audience, on your screens, you're going to see in a moment my COO, Kathleen Wright, and my executive director, Nicole Conlon-McCombe. I just wanted to give them a quick shout out because they really have helped put this together. We could not do this without them. Kathleen, you want to just say something? Tom will unmute you. And for those people at WATD, as you're listening, please, right now, why don't you answer the questions, the same questions, but see whether you got some knowledge here. And also for all of the folks who are watching the webinar, take a minute or two, answer the questions again. So this is what a sixth grader would be watching. Remember, we've done drug story theater now for over 40,000 kids in Massachusetts between the grades of sixth grade, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We got another show for the high schoolers. One day we'll show you that. And we're really finding that kids who learn about their brain really do change their perception about the risk that they have. Not to scare them, but for them to recognize that they can get high, but the price they pay is trust, that everybody has a chance to remind somebody else of their value, which will increase their self-esteem and decrease their initial chance of using. And they learn that remarkable number, right? That if you start using drugs or alcohol after the age of 21, 1 out of 25 people are at risk for lifelong addiction. If you start using before the age of 18, that number goes from 1 in 25 to 1 in 4. It is really quite remarkable, and it's just because of the way the brain is developing. We also tonight have some studio guests, and I really am just so honored to have them here. For those who are watching the webinar, here's the post-show quiz. Feel free to answer that. I guess I just answered some of them for you. Sorry about that. But we have Ed Jacobs, who is representing Tim Cruz, our district attorney of Plymouth County, and also District Attorney Early, who represents Worcester County. And I am so grateful to have you guys here because you really have been wonderful supporters of Drug Story Theater and helping to bring it to communities. So do we have them on, Tom?
Yeah, I just brought Early on, looking for Cruz on the...
Hello, District Attorney Early.
Hi, Dr. Joe. How you doing?
Thank you so much for being here, doing great. And again, thank you for all the support that you've given to Drug Story Theater over the years. Truly appreciate it.
Well, it's very easy. You guys are great. And, you know, we really enjoy partnering with people who work in prevention. It's hard to get anything done after the fact. But prevention, we found, is the best way to fight this. But we have to fight it on all fronts. So thank you for what you do. When I saw this, to me, it was just unbelievable. So we enjoy partnering with you.
Thank you. And right now, we are in the midst of this coronavirus and this pandemic. And, you know, we've got a lot of folks who are isolated, a lot of folks who are at higher risk now, especially of relapsing. And we know that coronavirus does not immunize against addiction. So I'm just wondering, have you guys been seeing anything on your front, and how are you managing it?
We have, you know, the use is still there. It might be harder to get drugs because of the pandemic, illegal drugs, that we just don't know. But what we are doing is, you know, our opioid task force is over 600 strong now. So we send out emails and weekly newsletters for trying to grab the best articles throughout the country to let people know we're there, give them a warm virtual hug as best we can. We borrowed from my good friend Tim Cruz, the SIMS program. that they're using down in Plymouth County, where every time someone overdoses and a police officer is involved, they're brought to the hospital, and we paid about $40,000 for the software because we saw Plymouth County's numbers go down 26%. I know they got a slight bump today, but this always is a roller coaster. We then get a text back from the hospital where the person was brought. If they accepted treatment, we get a text back or an email back that says doesn't need services. If we get a person who doesn't accept services, we get an email back saying needs services. So a plainclothes police officer and a recovery specialist will go knock on the door. In Plymouth County, 36% of the people accepted treatment. No one's got a door slammed in their face. So we're using that. We're also using a lot of updated training for law enforcement, trying to stay as aggressive as we can to fight this disease, not let it fall on anyone's back burner.
Thank you so much for all that work. Because, addiction is not about morality. It's about mortality. I've got Ed Jacobs on the line as well, representing Tim Cruz.
Well, Doctor, yeah.
You there, Ed?
Well, thank you. Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi,
So,
Ed.
Great. It's good to be on with you and District Attorney Early. Just to update you, because we were kind of getting some stats today, and DA Early talked about, we have Plymouth County Outreach, which is an amazing partnership between law enforcement, all the hospitals in the county and some outside the county, and quite frankly, a number of gifted and talented and committed people in the recovery community. And so I just wanted to share with you some stats that during the month of, in May 1st, Plymouth County Outreach and the task force had to put out an alert because over a 10-day period, there was 11 fatal overdoses. And it wasn't a specific area. It seemed to be without the county. The interesting thing about that, it happened on the last 10 days. And prior to that, there was only one overdose. So we average approximately, sadly, about 12 to 13 overdose deaths per month. So that was that one piece. But the other thing I would tell you is how has Plymouth County Outreach and the recovery community been handling COVID is obviously they can't go to the hospitals and engage such individuals or individuals with substance use disorder, and they can't go to the house. They're not allowed to do that. But what they have been doing is reaching out via telephone. In some cases, they're getting an email or some text from people, and they're really trying to follow up. I got an interesting stat today from Plymouth County Outreach. Of the people that they have engaged, 73% have accepted some type of treatment or recovery support services.
Wow.
So that doesn't mean they went inpatient, but somebody said, I need help. I need a meeting. I need a counselor. I need someone to talk to. And so to that end, I would say, if anyone's out there and they have a loved one themselves or a loved one, please go to PlymouthCountyOutreach.org, or they can call 508-830-4218, extension 261. I'm sure we can give that to you, and you can put that on your website. They can also be happy to contact me at the DA's office. But we want to let people know that they're still the recovery community and the recovery coaches are active 7 days a week, 24/7. And so we're very fortunate and lucky to have them.
Thank you. Can you give that number one more time for folks?
I would be happy to. It's 508-830-4218, extension 261. And there's great people like Vicki Butler and Hannah Paleotopoulos and former Captain John Rogers from the police would be happy to get you a contact.
And I just want to also give a shout out to Riverside Community Care, because they are also extending their addiction and substance use services with a new program called Connect to Recovery, because it takes more than one to help in recovery. And what we're finding is exactly what you're talking about, Ed, that we have a large number of people who are able to access us through telepsychiatry, telehealth, telephone. You don't need to do this by yourself. You don't need to be alone. We can help you. DA Early, one of the things that we talk about on this show, we ask our guests, small changes can have big effects. What small change can you recommend to folks out there who may be struggling with addiction butcher their families during this time of COVID?
Well, several different things. One of them is talk to someone in recovery. We know that recovery coaches, we know that people who've been through this have the best chance of helping someone turn it around. We know that they have the best chance when working with someone like that. You know, like you just said a second ago, they're not alone. That's one thing. Another thing is to reach out to one of our hotlines. Don't be afraid, especially now when it's almost everything must be done virtually. You can get information off of our website. You can, you know, we're working with the police department. We're working with the Department of Public Health. We're working with UMass. Go right to our opioid. If you give us your email at worcesterda.com, we'll get you on the task force and we'll show you all of the things that are available and all of the good people that are invested both in the private sector, the faith-based sector, the health sector, the government sector. You know, all of these different people working together. Just pick up the phone, give us a call. We can point you in the right direction.
That'd be great. Do you have that phone number handy? You can give folks?
I will have it in a second.
That's good. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, DA.
No. Well, if you go to worcesterda.com, you can go to our opioid task force and get all of the information right there.
That's perfect. That's perfect. worcesterda.com. Ed
Yes.
Jacobs, small changes can have big effect.
Sure.
What small changes are you recommending?
I think these are incredibly trying times, and I think we just need to raise awareness to families that, you know, I think we've got a great model here with the recovery coaches reaching out. I also think that we need to think about other parents reaching out to other parents because, you know, these are very, very difficult times. Parents are having to spend a lot of time with their kids, which is great in one way, but it can be trying in other times. They're having to learn how to do in-home schooling, et cetera. And so the concern for a lot of folks and I'm sure DA Early seeing this is, unfortunately, the number of child abuse reports has gone down between 50 to 75%. And that concerns me because I don't think the number of child abuse cases or the number of acts has gone down anywhere near that. I think we just don't have kids in the before schools and at pediatricians, et cetera. So
let me just jump in. Ed, hold on.
Sure.
Ed and DA, if you guys can stay on for the webinar, but
Sure.
Our time is up on the Dr. Joe Show. For our listening audience, come over to Facebook, the Dr. Joe Show Facebook page, and we're going to continue this discussion. Ben in the
Joe,
studio.
could I give you that
Thanks
phone
so
number?
much. All right, folks, we are still live on Facebook and live on our webinar. Do we still have the district attorney and Ed Jacobs there?
Yes.
Hooray.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay,
I
so
can give you that phone number
that'd be great.
for the office, 508-755-8601. 508-755-8601. You will be directed to a recording system. Leave your name, number there, and we will get you some information. We'll get you on the opioid task force.
That is terrific. Thank you so much. And Ed, you're absolutely right. There is a real concern about the trauma that is potentially going on in the house because we are not getting those phone calls. And even when we do, it's really difficult to do that intervention because so many people are afraid to either go into the house, and so many people we're finding in the house are afraid to have people come in.
Yeah. Everything's been compounded. I know it's been a frustration of educators and you know, child protective services. So this is really something that I think, you know, we go back to almost the basics, almost other people, other parents, other neighbors, other family members kind of reaching out and supporting and helping each other. I think that's going to be the key. It sounds simple and it sounds, you know, but I think in this day and age, given the limited moves that we have to make, I think at least we need to do that. So we need to raise the awareness that that we need to support people, and then you know, if we don't, then we're going to have some kids when we come out of this that are going to have they're going to have more difficulties, and then we're going to be back to what you're talking about in some of your you know, actors talked about, in people in recovery, are people who start using have low self-esteem and have histories of trauma. And, you know, this is where we want to get upstream and stop this.
We really do. We really do. And that is why drug-free theater has been, we think, so successful, because the treatment of one does become the prevention of many. I think we've got some poll results. Tom, can you run us through the pre and post show, a couple of those results for our listeners and our Facebook folks?
That's right. So if everyone in the Zoom webinar can see the shared poll results for the post-show poll, am I right?
I can see them.
Awesome. And I'm currently screen sharing the pre-show results as well. So you should be able to see them side by side. For the listening audience, there was definitely learning going on. So in the pre-show poll, most people answered limbic system for question number 1. Which of the below is in charge of feelings, impulses, and pleasure? However, 23% answered prefrontal cortex, 5% oxytocin, 9% dopamine, 9% not sure.
But we have a pretty sophisticated audience, I must say. What we find with the kids is there's really this reversal. Most of the pre-show results are all guesses. So we have like 30% of this, 30% of that. But after the show, it is remarkably significant how much they are learning.
Jump by 30%.
So, yeah, so we're seeing it here. We got any other results we might want to share right now?
Of course. For example,
yes.
Question number 3. Which is the brain chemical of trust? 23% answered dopamine. Not one in the post-show poll answered dopamine.
Yay! That's exactly what we want. And it is oxytocin, not OxyContin. Oxytocin. And you know, this is the thing that I just want to spend a moment on. As a child psychiatrist and an adult psychiatrist and working with folks with addiction, I must admit I prescribe a lot of medicines. But this is one medicine I don't need to prescribe. We can do this for each other at every and any moment in time. I don't know whether you guys can imagine this for a moment, but imagine an audience of 800 sixth graders. And in the post-show, right, when we're doing the talkback, we say to them, just for a moment, who's ever sitting closest to you, whether they're in front of you, back of you, just say something nice about them. And the room explodes in this laughter and joy. And we finally calm everyone down. We say, is there anyone who's not smiling right now? And of course, everyone's smiling. We say, that's how easy it is to remind someone of their value. That's peer pressure, but that's positive peer pressure. That's a peer pressure that reminds someone of their value, increases oxytocin, and what we now know is that oxytocin can overcome dopamine. It can overcome the loop of addiction. That's part of what we're trying to do, where the treatment of one becomes the prevention of many. And what we tell the kids in the audience is what they are doing every time they give our kids on stage a round of applause, that's treatment, because they are reminding our kids of their value. Everyone wants the same thing. We just want to feel valuable. And at every and any moment in time, you can remind someone of their value. And when you do that, you increase your own value. It's that simple. This is what we are really trying to do. And we have the support of District Attorney Early and District Attorney Cruz, and we have the support of Jen Cantwell's coalition and so many others. And we are so grateful. And every one of those people that supports us, I got to tell you, it increases my oxytocin levels. Let's go to another question and answer. What do we got? Anything else here, Tom, you can share?
Yep. So, question number 7, pre-show poll. If you start using drugs or alcohol before the age of 18, 1 in 4, 10, 25, or 50 are at risk for lifelong addiction. And it was across the board. So answer number 1 received 41%. That was 1 in 4. Answer number 2, that was 1 in 10, got 27%. Answer 3, 1 in 25, 9%. Answer number 4, 1 in 50, 23%. In the post-show poll, 100% answered 1 in 4.
That's so great. Hey, can you scroll this screen down, your screen sharing, so we can see that, or not?
Sure, you should be able to see it in the screen share.
I just seen the first two questions, but that's probably just me. Anyway, that's what we're trying to do here. You know, we talk a lot at the Dr. Joe Show about the I am approach. I'm not going to go through it, but the second rule of the I am, you control no one, you influence everyone. You get to choose the kind of influence you want to be. Ed Jacobs, I'm going to start with you representing Tim Cruz, but also yourself, because you do so much work with kids who really have been traumatized. So what kind of influence are you hoping to be?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I quite know how to answer that. I think for me, part of the other part of my job is that I also teach, and I teach college students, 18, 22-year-olds, and sometimes older. And so to me, that's been one of the most rewarding pieces, because we've had a lot of folks who have gone through these experiences on their own lived experience, and then they're in school and they see, wait a minute, I've gone through this. I'm understanding what's happened to me, and now I want to go on and help other people. And there are other people who say, it didn't happen to me, but it happened to my brother, my sister, etc. So the greatest, I think, joy for me is being able to work with people, and then they go off and do that work. When I think of little kids, I think the most important thing is that we understand with those children, whether they be 3 or they be 17, is when an event happens, they really, really, really need a genuine, authentic, caring adult in their life. They need someone to help them understand what's happened to them, understand that it's not their fault. And that, when you look at the kids who say, I went through this and I went through this, and they're two separate, similar incidents, similar backgrounds, but the one who had that caring adult who buffered the trauma for them, helped them kind of work through it, those are the kids that's who we want to be, because those are the kids we want to really, obviously, those are the ones that we have the most success with. Getting further upstream, we really want to stop the cycle of violence, and whether it's sexual abuse or physical abuse or domestic violence, et cetera. And I'm sure the DA out in Worcester has some amazing programs and some amazing school programs with some of his staff.
Yes, and
one of the other things, Doc, just lastly, I would say one of the things that I wanted to talk about was that we are doing, and DA Early's doing, is looking at what we call adverse childhood experiences and seeing the frequency of that. And then we're also seeing in long-term study how adverse childhood experiences affect long-term health outcomes. Really compelling study.
I would love to be able to do another show on that. I mean, we did have you on before, Ed, talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and it certainly hasn't gone away. We sure need help. And your point that every child who has had at least one adult that sees them as valuable, this is what creates resilience in kids. And just think about this, how simple this is. We all want to feel valuable. Here's a kid who knows that they're valued by at least one person, and that has an effect on their brain and perhaps their entire life. Before we go on, DA Early, because I'm going to ask you the same thing, I just want to say that we have in our webinar group another guest, and I would like to just bring her on. Charlene, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Now, Charlene, how do I pronounce your last name?
It's Verga.
I thought so, but I wanted to be sure because I didn't want to, get it wrong. But Charlene, I'm so glad that you've come in. Do you want to tell folks a little bit about your position and what you're doing?
Sure. So I am a registered nurse of 30 years now. I work full-time for the Massachusetts Nurses Association as Associate Director in the Division of Nursing. In fact, I'm a member of DA Early's opioid task force. He does a great job. I'm proud to be a member of that. I do annual drug programs, try to get the word out. Big supporter of Drug Story Theater. They have performed for us a few times now. I love the kids. I feel like they're my own. I'm also a critical care nurse at the Cambridge Health Alliance. I work at the Everett campus, and it's a very challenging job to be a nurse today, not just because of the opioid crisis, but also the street drug situation has changed over the last decade. And the COVID situation made it so much worse.
Yeah. Yes, and again, thank you for your support for Drug Story Theater. We couldn't do this without you guys, but we are finding with this coronavirus and COVID, it is pretty scary, you know. And DA Early, we're finding that the overdoses are going up, the lethal overdoses.
Well, what we found is some results came out today that they've actually gone down about 5 in the state.
Wow, that's great.
But that's for 2019. It's a little bit old.
Oh.
My fear is, thank you, Charlene, for being on the task force, and thank you for what the nurses are doing right now. You guys are on the front lines of all of this. And besides the COVID, you know, we're seeing the anxiety, the depression that this is bringing, taking people out of normal routines. And, you know, even AA meetings, they go into virtual meetings. They had gone to virtual meetings for a little while. I'm hoping that's changes. But one thing that Eddie touched on, two things, if I can touch on briefly, Dr. Joe.
Please, please.
Sexual abuse numbers are going down, and it's scary because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't have the teachers. We don't have the people with the mandatory reporters going into the homes. Our domestic violence numbers are going up again. An increase in drugs and alcohol, I would have to think, is coming along with this COVID crisis with people staying home, and that's not the healthiest. With regards to prevention and what they're doing in Plymouth County, we're trying to learn from what they do, and they're great sharers. We share everything we have. Our number one most requested program as we go into the schools with our community outreach is our bullying program. Again, dealing with trauma. We've spoken to over 500,000 kids. And we know that this helps the kid. The type of person, that participant we saw in Drug Story Theater earlier, we talked about being bullied and made fun of at school. These are the kids we're trying to get to. Do we get to everyone? No, but we get to a significant number. And again, I think our prevention programs, no matter what county it is, are going to work. We have Safe School Summits, where we bring in Drug Story Theater. We have wellness clinics. All of these things are done when school's in session. So we've got to find a way, hopefully we're back in school in the fall, to get them right back on and get that message right back to the kids. And who knows, maybe even after a period of being home where you're doing everything online, we're going to have even more attentive audiences. And also, I'm real proud about the evidence-based program we use. This is not about drugs, where the kids do, much like you're doing tonight. They take a video, then watch three young adults talk about how they got involved with drugs, how they get started. Then they take that same test again. And it gives them an awareness, it gives them an ability. Most of all, it lets them make intelligent choices with regards to drug and alcohol use.
That's a terrific program. What a terrific program. So with all that's going on, though, what it really, I think, is saying is that mental health and addiction is not confined to just one population. And that is part, I hope, of the silver lining, if we have one, of coronavirus. I mean, obviously, it is, horrible. So many people dying, so many people, have been diagnosed. But what you just talked about, so much anxiety and depression and anger, it is part of our limbic response. We're in a survival mode right now. And what I'm really hoping is that the whole population recognizes that mental health is actually really important to staying alive, to staying happy, to staying sober, and to be able to contribute to society. So I hope that, when Corona dies down, probably not a great choice of words, but when we have less Corona, that we don't lose the ability to continue doing the telehealth services, the audio services, and really being able to have people come to treatment because they don't feel that it's stigmatizing. Charlene, what do you think about that? Are we going to be able to do that?
I hope so. I tell you, I've been praying every day. I've never seen anything like this. And everything became COVID. My whole hospital was COVID. We tried to maintain one non-COVID unit and it just didn't happen. And it really felt that was such a major concern of mine. Within my profession, my continuing education face-to-face program stopped. I was supposed to have my annual drug program was supposed to be this week, and I had to cancel that. Now all the fall programs that I had, they made the decision to cancel that. So it's been very concerning. How are people getting help? Are they getting help? It's addiction didn't disappear because COVID showed up.
Right. That's right.
So I'm very afraid. I'm very afraid for patients. I really am.
Can I add one thing on what Charlene just said, Doctor?
Please, please.
There's a little bit of irony in this COVID now. I read an article in the Globe, I think it was by Mark Arsenault, how people aren't putting in the cause of death in obituaries because there's a stigma. They don't want people shunning them. They don't want people saying, oh, we can't go over there, we might get the disease.
Wow.
Then you have there's a stigma with the mental health, and of course we have the stigma with substance use disorder. And to me, it's just amazing that stigma can be so pervasive when it comes to all of these things. And we've got to see beyond that. We've got to see the greater good. We've got to do everything we can to get rid of this stigma.
I could not agree more. And what the stigma is really indicating as well is a confirmation that we all want the same thing. We just want to be seen as valuable by someone else. And that's what stigma is. You're judging someone, you don't know them, but you're saying, well, you must be bad, or you must be dangerous, or you must be in a group that I don't want to have any part of. I don't want you in my group. That's what stigma is. And that is exactly what we need to combat. And that is exactly what Drug Free Theater is trying to do. But I also believe it's what every one of you are trying to do as well, because we do value people. We really do. Charlene, I just wanted to echo D.A. Early's thanks for being on the front line. It is truly a service that you and your nursing staff are doing. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you to the nurses. Thank you so much, Charlene.
Thank you to everyone. It takes a village to get through this, and we'll get to the other side of it. I'm just not sure when.
A village with passion.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen.
So we've got a minute or so left. D.A. Early, let me ask you, you control no one, you influence everyone. What kind of influence are you hoping to be?
I get into this business because of my father. My father, when he was in Congress, got an extra $500 million to the National Institutes of Health when he was a congressman every year, never took any credit. I got into this business to help people. I think we're down here to serve. I think we're down here to help each other. If anything, I want to be someone who helps people as much as you can. Whether you're poor, whether you're rich, it doesn't matter. We've got to help each other because we're all in this together. That's the influence I want to be, and we all have to do it together. There's no I am team.
Love it. Well, I just want to thank all of you and all the panelists and participants who've been here tonight. I want to give a shout out to Tom for putting together the technology. Thank you so much. To Mark, my co-host, for always having a great introduction. I just want to point out that this is one of the rare cases where I really have not heard Mark say very much, and he's a lawyer. So this has to be really difficult. So thank you, Mark. But do you want to say something, Mark? No, I didn't think so. And of course, to Kathleen and Nicole, none of this would be happening without you. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. And let's keep this going. Really appreciate it. We can get through this together. We're going to do it.
Thanks, Dr. Joe. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Charlene. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
DA.
thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much
Thank you,
to
Charlene.
the kids. Thank you so much to the kids.
Thank you.
Yes, great job. I was so impressed last
my
time,
God.
even more impressed tonight. Great job.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Real honor, real privilege. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.